Welcome to February. And we call the Pointe Angels Angel Meeting to order. Really interesting, very eclectic lineup today. And much credit to our screening team. They waded through 9 really excellent companies to get our program put together for today. I was reminded over the weekend of a talk that I gave when I was at Spark a bunch of years ago about Michigan entrepreneurship. And the theme of the talk, I won't give the whole half-hour version of it, was that Michigan has been a magnet for entrepreneurship for 400 years. And of course, I would plant somebody in the audience, thank you, Scott, to say, oh, really? Really? Thank you, Scott. And I would point to the furriers of France who came to Michigan 400 years ago. And if you were an entrepreneur 400 years ago, that was the business of being, trapping and trading and selling fur. And they're out in the woods and they're looking all around and they notice there's all these trees. So if you're an entrepreneur 300 years ago, you were a lumberman and you came to Michigan and you cut down a lot of those trees and you sent them to Chicago where they burnt up. And then you sent them to Chicago again where they got burnt up again. And then after you'd mowed down all the trees, you look and you see there's all these rocks. And 200 years ago, if you're an entrepreneur, you're a miner. And you come and you dig the copper and you dig the iron out of the Upper Peninsula, the northern Lower Peninsula. And you ship that to Pittsburgh to make steel and to Birmingham, Alabama to make more steel. And then after you've got this embarrassment of riches from the ground, you say, well, what can we make with it? If you're an entrepreneur 100 years ago, you were in manufacturing. And Michigan was the global capital for that. But there was another thing happening in Michigan 100 years ago. Very quietly, 3 pharmacists got together and they started a business compounding drugs. And one of them put up all the money and the other 2 did all the work. This familiar kind of a pattern in entrepreneurship. And you've got an entrepreneur in Indiana. Indiana, not the world capital of entrepreneurship. And he notices that his sister, who was tending the fire and burned her eyelashes off, had developed a way of making her eyelashes look bigger by mixing lampblack with petroleum jelly. And she would put that on her eyelashes. She invented mascara. Well, you can't make that in Indiana. So he comes to Detroit, where the Messrs. Park and Davis had set up their compounding pharmacy. And that was the chemical smarts to fix the lampblack and the Vaseline and create Maybelline, the first. Really? Another Detroit innovation that people don't talk about. So this is the room of innovation that hasn't yet exploded on the scene. So we're 100 years later, and the challenge that I put to you and that I put to the folks at Spark is, what's going to be our next 100 years innovation? Is it going to be pharmaceuticals? Is it going to be cosmetics? Is it going to be electrophysiology? Is it going to be advertising? Is it going to be forever chemical abatement? So you see how this was just a big lead up to our program today. I want to bring up our first preview today, which is Lawrence Savoy from Spike Neuro. Lawrence came to us through a really interesting path through Kalamazoo. He was a contestant, is that the right word? In Kalamazoo Venture Tuesdays. And I subbed in as a judge for my friend Sandra Cochran and got to meet Spike Neuro and thought that they were interesting enough to put up there. So I'm going to set this thing for 5 minutes. Lawrence, please come up and tell us what Spike Neuro does.
It's an analog design
That's
something.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
So my name is Lawrence Savoy. I am the co-founder of Spike Neuro. Spike Neuro is a startup focused on advanced brain probes for neuroscience research. And our team consists of PhD experts that are focused on electrophysiology research and the study of that's the study of electrical activity in the brain. Our experts know what's needed to move an arrested field forward. We are the only people that can essentially go through and do that from the group that we've formed. We've had a combined experience in sales, grant writing, and then also engineering. And we are set to accelerate the field of neuroscience. We've created a customer-led focused company that essentially is, building tools to bring out the need within the neuroscience field. This company sets us up to be able to have high channel count electrophysiology within a space that is kind of stalled within what they're doing. We've gone through and set up a proprietary process to go through and build our electrical probes, which are inserted into live tissue and used to detect the firing of the neurons within research with different models. And through that proprietary process, we've noticed through our customer discovery that there are many issues within the field, from quality, durability, the communication from which these devices are gone through and placed in as far as support and different things like that. And we figured out that through the team that we've created, that we are the people that can go through and solve that issue. And by doing so, we created a silicon microelectrode that is able to be customized fully with our proprietary process to be able to adapt to any electrophysiology research that the researcher is trying to conduct. From this, we've actually set this up in a way that we had, it took us about 8 months from conception to the actual release of our products to the idea of what we have now. And so we actually have our first batch of product coming out in March 1st. So from that, we're able to go through and start our sales campaign that we started actually 60 days ago. And from that sales campaign, we actually pre-sold $75,000 worth of devices from what we're currently going through and putting out. So on March 1st, we'll have those initial devices built. And the way that we went through and approached those people was from a small fraction of our leads list. We actually had a test segment of our leads list that we kind of just selected and then put out there to see if there's any adjustments that we need to make for the actual launch. And it was actually very successful for what we went through and put out there. Some of the things that we're going through and moving with in the future, we are coming out with a couple of different partnerships with academic and industry leaders to go through and have our devices tested and attributed to and validated for human use. We'll have that campaign started in about 9 months, and then we'll go through and use those and have a lot of data coming from the human subjects that are involved with that study. In the future, we're going through and we have a couple of products in our product line right now, which are a data acquisition system that has accompanying software that works with our disposable probes. And then we also have in development a data analytics suite, which is going to be utilizing machine learning and AI through the feeding of essentially the neural data that people are recording from. From that, it'll go through and show points of interest with the neural data that's being uploaded to the system, saving months of actual manual needed labor to go through and search through the neural data itself. With that, we'll go through and kind of speak on that at a later time, but I appreciate your time and interest in Spike Neuro.
I didn't know what electrophysiology was, and Lawrence told me, those are those guys who are researching Alzheimer's and ALS and stroke and TBI. Like, yeah. Next up, we've got Paul Angot, another interesting founder story. This one came to us from our friends at Barnum Law, Matt Bauer and Steve Enright, who apologizes that he couldn't be here today. Barnum has a long time been a good friend of Pointe Angels, and Matt sent me Paul Angot. He said, "Do you know this guy?" And I'm like, "Yeah." but he was working on something else like 15 years ago when I was at Ross. And so I got to talking with Paul, and this is the restless serial entrepreneur who sees an innovation and starts the umpteenth venture around it. And Paul's got slides. Cool. All right, stay behind this fella.
What's that?
Stay behind that, and it'll pick you up. You're behind it now.
All right.
Paul Angot with Innovative Billboards.
Yeah, hi. My name's Paul Angot. Company's Innovative Billboards. The product is Billboard in a Box. It's a revolutionary new outdoor scrolling billboard. It's mechanical. So it simply scrolls messages, as you see here, up or down. They're typically on for 8 seconds. And what it does is it increases profit when you do that. We've raised $1.9 million. We only need a couple $100,000 from angels. So it's our last angel round. It's 30-to-1 return. It's the perfect time to invest. We have a couple of VCs that lined up for $1 million each once we show the prototype, the final prototype in a couple months. It's a simple model. We'll build the parts in India, do the assembly here in Michigan, build it for $30,000, sell the billboards for $64,000, start sales in third quarter this year, ship directly from the factory to our customer. It's a clean model. The billboard companies are responsible for rate installation, customers, and so forth. What happens is when you go from a static board to a billboard in a box, you increase your profit from $4,000 a year to $40,000 a year. It's a phenomenal model. So if you look at LED, the competition, digital, typical $120,000 to $150,000. Our billboard is $64,000. So the installed cost is $145,000 versus $80,000. But it's all about payback. So if you take that $145,000 billboard in a box versus LED versus $80,000 billboard in a box, and you have a static board, on average, they generate $2,100 every 4 weeks. With LED, you get 8 customers at $1,300 each, or 8 customers at $1,200 each, billboard in a box. So the profit goes from $4,000 annually to $36,000 LED digital, or $40,000 billboard in a box. But all the billboard companies worry about is payback. So you take the $145,000 digital, divide by $36,000, and it's 4-year payback versus $80,000 startup cost for our product, $40,000 profit, 2-year payback. And we've talked to over 40 billboard companies, so I'll tell you, it's all about payback. It's that 2-year payback. And as a result, digital is only 3% of the market over 17 years of being on the market. So it's all about payback. There's 165,000 14 by 48 foot billboards in the U.S. There are 92,000 in our addressable market with 2-year payback. So that's 2,000 per state. That's $64,000 each. It's a $6 billion market for us in the U.S. alone. Our projections out of that 2,000 per state are 6 in year 1, 276 billboards. So it's 6, 12, 18, 24, or 30 per state per year out of 2,000. So it's only 6 out of 2,000. So it's a small percentage of the market we're going after. We have a very broad issued patent. We've also covered it in Europe, China, and India. We have a quarter scale working prototype we showed a couple years ago. We have a team. I have 42 patents. I've sold $100 million of product I've patented. I was named Entrepreneur of the Year. Jim Berline owns Berline Advertising. He buys billboard advertising, for example, in 35 markets, plus TV and radio. And he also does it for Wendy's, Buffalo Wild Wings, and other. Casey Chuck is one of 10 PhDs on the team. We have a phenomenal board anchored by David Rambajan and his partner John. Both were in the billboard business, and they invested $500,000 into our company. We've talked to over 40 billboard companies. 90% have expressed interest in buying our billboards if they're in the addressable market with 2-year payback. Tom Carroll out front, for example, they're $1.8 billion in revenue, thought he would sell 20 the first year in Michigan, not 6. Paul Presser, Lamar, number 2 in the U.S., thinks it's phenomenal. And Mike Carroll thought he'd like to be our VP of marketing and sales. He just sees incredible potential. As I mentioned, 40% or 90% of the 40 companies are interested in buying our product. In terms of return for investors, if we meet our numbers, the profit over 5 years is $101 million. We'll then sell the company in year 5 at 6 times EBITDA for $202 million. sell to a major player like JC&Co., the largest billboard company in the world. And if you take that total profit plus sale of the company, it's $303 million. And the return on investment then is 30 to 1. So a 50 grand investment potentially returns 1.5 million in 5 years, including money back in 2 years. It's a 25 grand minimum. We have a full-scale working prototype that should be done in a couple months. It's built here in Michigan. So recapping, the product's patented. We plan to start sales in third quarter this year. 30 to 1 potential return on investment, including money back in 2 years. So 25 grand minimum. We've raised 1.9 million. We need a couple $100 grand from angels. It's the last round. It's the perfect time to invest. And the sales are 6, 12, 18, 24, 30 per year out of 2,000 per year in the addressable market. Thanks for listening, and I'm open to questions.
Thank you, Paul. Give me a moment to write down your questions. We're gonna just charge ahead. Write it down, save it. He's gonna be here. Who has been to the interminable 4-hour income meeting? This ain't that. Oh, thank you. Go ahead, please. I was so pleased to get a referral from the Centropolis Accelerator at Lawrence Tech University of Enspired Solutions and saw them present at, was it the Centri Summit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And as a kind of just a tire kicker, you're building a skid-mounted, palletized, portable water treatment plant. I actually had a client that did that 10 years ago, so I introduced them. The other client was working on emptying waste lagoons at factory cattle farms, a really nasty waste product that you don't want to haul. You kind of want to process it on site. As soon as he heard what Enspired Solutions was doing, he said, "Oh, well, our customers do this." It turned into a sale. And of course, they swam through our screening process as a result of that. Who saw Enspired Solutions featured in Cranes last week? Yeah, in print or? Print. So quaint. Yeah, they misspelled it in print, but they fixed it up. So without further ado, I'm going to give 15 minutes to Denise Kay with Enspired Solutions.
Great, thanks. I'm Denise. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Enspired Solutions. We have a passion for destroying the contaminant PFAS, which is referred to in newspapers as a forever chemical. It's being found in our water. And PFAS is referred to as a forever chemical. It's man-made. It does not break down naturally in the environment. It's extremely resistant to breakdown, such that in various ways shown here that it gets into the environment from the companies that manufacture it, from the companies that use it to make our fabrics stain resistant, to make our coats water repellent, to make firefighting foams, to make cosmetics. It's in so many things we use and love. It gets into the environment from those manufacturers. And then also all of those products we use, we put in the landfill, and ultimately PFAS is now leaking out of our landfills. It's getting into our water cycle, and because it does not naturally break down in any way, it's circulating through the water cycle. Rainfall around the globe now exceeds PFAS concentrations that the EPA considers drinkable. 95% of us have it at detectable levels in our blood. It's linked to negative reproductive outcomes and to multiple types of cancer. So there are a couple things, current technologies that can take PFAS out of water. You can put it through a filter, like the Brita filter so use the Brita filters at home. But in the environment, you can find the PFAS in water, put it through one of those filters, get it out of the water, but now you have PFAS loaded onto this carbon. What do you do with that? It can either go to a landfill or an incinerator where it has a chance to re-enter by leaking or being aerially dispersed. Inspired Solutions Innovation is a piece of equipment and a patented chemical technology that actually molecularly breaks PFAS down on site so you can have a non-toxic discharge that meets regulatory requirements. This is a diagram of our patented chemical process. The first frame shows PFAS as blue dots in water. We add a couple proprietary reagents which form a reactive cage capturing the PFAS. With ultraviolet light exposure, the molecules then break down, allowing a discharge that meets regulatory requirements and is not toxic. With this technology, we won an award from US EPA and Department of Defense, meeting their criteria for PFAS breakdown and for energy efficiency. This is a picture of our first PFASigator. PFASigator is our full solution, equipment and chemistry and reagent subscription for breaking down PFAS on site. My co-founder and research director are also there. This has been manufactured in Delaware, and we'll be doing final testing next week. We have 2 issued U.S. patents and have applied for international extensions on the chemical process and multiple pending provisional patents on the equipment design and additional chemical steps. PFAS remediation is a white space market, and there are competitors moving at a similar pace. However, what we're doing at Enspired Solution has some distinct advantages. We are the most energy efficient technology. Energy is what's driving the cost of PFAS destruction. Therefore, we are quite cost effective. We are safe. Some of our competitors use high temperature, high pressure. You have to have special installations and safety concerns to take care of. Our reaction can be tuned, meaning as regulations change, you can run the reaction more or less, always meeting your regulation and optimizing the spend. We have no toxic byproducts, and we have commercially available equipment. The market for PFAS cleanup is huge. The Environmental Business Journal estimated the PFAS cleanup market as $160 billion. This was in 2019, and they've only been finding more sites since then. PFAS destruction is one service that will be needed for all of PFAS cleanup. We've estimated it at about 15%. And we estimated about half of those, that 15% gets us to 24, and half of that will be a good match for our particular technology. Of those, the market that is a good match for our technology, we know that some people will choose to do nothing. Some people may choose to use the older available technology. So we're estimating from a top-down approach, a $6 billion market for our specific solution. Our business model nicely includes reoccurring revenue. Our first interactions with clients, which is occurring a lot right now, and as a result of cranes, we've had 5 customers call us for treatability studies. They send some of their waters to the lab. We test if it's a match for our chemistry. Ultimately, that will lead to lease or sale of the PFASigator equipment, which is then followed by a monthly reagent subscription, which comes with the end user license for the proprietary chemistry. If it's a permanent installation at a site for, say, drinking water, we're looking at 15 to 30 years plus that the equipment will be there. So the ongoing revenue becomes very significant. Our primary costs are with our contracting the manufacturing of it. We don't do the manufacturing, and with the reagent supply. We have 2 go-to-market strategies. We already have a contract with the federal government. They are the biggest spender right now on PFAS destruction. Army, Navy, Air Force have been using PFAS to put out fires at their bases. It's horrendous groundwater contamination. So they've put a moratorium on burning it. They're spending a lot. We have a contract with them. And our second path to market is primarily through larger consulting firms like Arcadis, AECOM, CDM Smith. They have clients where the engineering firm designs the whole water treatment facility. Our PFASigator is one Lego in that. right? So they might be taking iron out, they might be taking out solids, they might be taking out other chemicals, and they need something to take out the PFAS. So through these collaborators, we are have access to their end clients. We have a good deal of customer traction. We have contracts now in place for work that adds up to over $500,000. We have 4 proposals sent out to some very significant potential end users. For example, Waste Management has thousands of landfills around the United States, and partially a good return on that cranes. A lot of phone calls asking, could this work at my site? Can you give us a proposal to do that initial testing? So our leadership is comprised of myself, Meng, as co-founders, and Sarah. The 3 of us have all worked together for over 10 years, each of us also having full careers as environmental consultants in contaminant remediation, as consultants to chemical industry. We left those careers to start this company. So we have abundant, relevant experience in this market. We are currently doing a $3 million raise to enter into a rapid growth phase. That rapid growth phase will include dramatically increasing our employees, including a part-time CFO, a lead engineer to install the equipment at a new site and to run our field tech team, and some sales increase also. We're going to expand our laboratory research and development. We have at least 2 more ideas in the pipeline right now that we're eager to get testing on so that we can back up the PFASigator with other options as the field continues to grow. We're going to build an inventory of PFASigators to have ready for clients. Also a mobile system, slightly scaled down, but that we can take to a site and demonstrate for people or lease for temporary use. And this would give us a 12 to 18 month runway. Our projection based on the rapid growth, you can see on the gross margin line, the percentage there, we have a very nice margin on the services, equipment, and reagent income. In addition to that nice margin, our systems do price out being cost comparable to the current technologies. And we have the additional value of really destroying the PFAS and limiting long-term liability of the companies. Our exit strategy, we are intending an acquisition. And the types of companies we think we in fact know are interested in us include global water treatment companies, some of those large engineering firms. By acquiring our company, they can really distinguish their services they can offer from what other companies can offer. UV equipment providers, UV light is the core of our reactor of that PFASigator, and UV light hasn't had a new market in a long time. We've actually already had 2 of these companies approach us to talk about exploring exclusivity and potential acquisition. Also, the major PFAS manufacturers. You may have read that 3M recently dropped their PFAS chemistry line. They're one of the original manufacturers. $2.3 billion product line that they have shut down because of their long-term legacy cleanup cost and liability in litigation. So that's it. I can take questions if there's time.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, pretty fast.
And there's going to be lots of questions. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
What's the investment deal? I mean, what is there we just email you later? How do you find
Yeah. Thank you. So right now we have a corporate venture that we are finalizing terms with. And between corporate venture and some reinvestment from existing investors who did our family friends round, we were now at 1.9 million covered. So we've got $1 million left.
So you have the friends and family around done? or that?
Friends and Family Round was done. We've existed a year and a half. Friends and Family Round was done about a year ago, and it was 350,000.
You don't have any of that left.
No, I wish I'd known you sooner.
Alright.
I got it as soon as I could, Adams.
You got mine. All right. Well, so
So it's a priced equity round, and
price.
it's a priced equity round. So our friends and family were convertible notes. Those will all convert to equity at this round, and we're looking to do. It's a tranched round, so we're with a milestone that releases the second tranche. So 50% of what is committed from our investors will be remitted to us at the closing time.
Yes.
And then there's 2 milestones, which is locking in another layer of IP that is broader, that we're currently negotiating with a university. And the second one is a customer PO for the piece of equipment.
Okay. If I give you my information, I can have you sign a non-disclosure.
Yeah.
That is what we do here, Ed. We connect
Okay.
investors and entrepreneurs and make deals. So you're
friends,
singing our song.
your friends and family round was on a convertible note.
Yes.
It's not that friendly, is it?
It's very entrepreneur friendly.
It's not very friendly. I know. I like that. Okay.
A question, if you can talk us through the first touch to first revenue sales cycle, since you're already in revenue. Have you done any modeling? Is there any consistency to the different accounts that you've closed? And there's a huge range of those accounts in terms of size.
Mhm.
Is it 6 touches? Is it 6 months? Is it
Mhm.
3 touches? Is it 3 weeks?
It's it's a very short time between first touch, like the phone call from Cranes, and when we will run their treatability test. We can have it finished within 2 months of the first touch, usually a couple weeks to get they usually want a non-disclosure because they
pay
don't
for
want,
that test, or is that a cost
Oh,
of
yeah.
sales?
no, that's a paid for test. That
That's
runs
first revenue
between,
right there.
yeah, that runs between 6 and 18,000 depending on what tests they want run. So that's the revenue we're pulling in
Is that
right
in the
now.
lab or is that in the field?
That's in our laboratory. Yep. Our first field pilot test will be done in Grand Rapids, Michigan in the next few months. It's going to be paid for primarily by the Bureau of Reclamation. And that field pilot test is about 300,000.
The amount of Scotch Guard that got dumped in Grand Rapids.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
Scotch Guard's bad.
That's a defect.
It is just about solid
Should I
PFAS.
go back out and buy a few more cans because
You will not, if you buy it now, it's not the same anyway.
Yeah,
it's not as good anymore?
it's like saran wrap. They fix that too. Rick?
What's the current regulatory status of PFAS at the state and federal level?
Yeah. So at the federal level, they have released what's called a guideline, but the guideline is not enforceable. The states are frustrated with that. There are now 28 states that have regulation in place, and it's coming through as surface water and drinking water and groundwater regulations. And that surface water one is having a really interesting effect in Michigan. Our wastewater treatment plants can't release the water they've treated to the surface water, the rivers where they usually release it, if they're not meeting PFAS criteria. And they don't have the systems in place to do that. And they don't have the money, frankly, the municipalities don't have the money to do that. But they do have authority to trace up the stream what pipes are sending PFAS to them, and they are shutting off those pipes. So right now, our primary clients reaching out to us are the landfills, because the wastewater treatment plants have told them, you have 2 months to get your PFAS down, or we're shutting your pipe off. And so it's an interesting that regulation of surface water is driving up the stream.
You love regular house.
Yeah.
But how can I mean, in the Great Lakes state, where pretty much every drop of water is also considered covered by the Clean Water Act, how are the feds not yet still involved?
Because unfortunately, the toxicology behind this is not fully vetted. There's a lot of ambiguity about what is a safe level, and there's a whole politic behind, do we set it really low where we know it's safe, but then we can't back off because the public won't let us, and the chemical industries arguing you can't set it low because you can't prove that that's toxic. It's a huge. And my PhD is environmental toxicology. In fact, that's where I saw this wave coming down.
Greg? Oh, Scott.
So if I own a landfill, I don't own a landfill, but if I did, what flows are going out of there, and how might you, is it all liquid and something you could easily treat, or is there other equipment required to gather vapors or gather other materials from, say, a landfill?
Landfills do have both of those issues, and most of the vapors that come out are methane gas, and in fact they trap it and repurpose it. PFAS does not come out in the vapor form. Most of the toxins that come out of landfills come out in what they call leachate, and it's a liquid, and it varies from looking like water to looking like Guinness. More of it on the Guinness side. And so they have a certain volume of flow, and they have some treatment requirements. They can't just put that down. So things they know are in it, maybe it's just carbon with biological oxygen demand or certain chemicals. They already have wastewater treatment facilities around the landfills where they treat it. But now what they used to be doing, it doesn't do anything for PFAS. So that's where our Lego comes in. You add us on, and then you're taking care of your PFAS too.
Great, thanks.
I think I just heard you say that they're processing leachate regardless of PFAS.
Yes,
And that's why this is bolt-on to what they're already doing.
correct.
So
So
after they process the Guinness, then they run it again through your system to remove the PFAS.
This is where the water treatment engineers come in, and depending on what any specific site is treating for, there will be different positioning of the PFASigator before or after, or looping around, but it'll be one component of a complete system.
that engineer is part of your go-to-market.
Yes, and those engineering firms are part of our go-to-market.
Do you have a competitor right now, or are they taking a similar tactic to you, or are they doing something very different?
There are, so like I said, it's a white space market, and there are about 4 acknowledged technologies that can destroy PFAS. 3 of them are technologies that have been used previously on other chemistry. They all have flaws in that 2 of them produce toxic byproducts, different things, less toxic than PFAS, but still a toxic byproduct. The 3rd one has also a toxic byproduct, but it was previously used to destroy nuclear waste. It's huge pressure and temperature thermal destruction. So you're then fighting the thermodynamics of water even. So the energy demand is tremendous. And the 4th one is actually called cold plasma. And I honestly think cold plasma 25 years from now might be the way to go. But cold plasma right now is being done in mason jar type size experiments in university laboratories. So it has some opportunity to not have byproducts to maybe be as equal energy efficient as us, but it's not market ready.
Are there any big competitors who are using one of those other 3 technologies that you have to knock off, or?
Nobody's settled on it yet. No, there's these various technologies, and those various technologies each have multiple companies representing them or trying to take them to market. We're the only one taking ours to market because of the uniqueness and the patented. So the different companies are AECOM, CDM Smith, Aclarity, Battelle, 374 Water, Aquaga, Purified, and Clarkston U are working on the cold plasma. These are the other types of technologies. No one has created an alignment or a market. In fact, none of us can even do a full price comparison yet. Nobody has yet done a full-scale field pilot treatment test.
So it's basically you're all in the same boat. The first one is someone's gonna have a first mover advantage being in the marketplace and being scale.
You know, I'd say a Clarity and a Quagga are the closest right now. Both of those have done significant financial raises. They both have equipment that could be used in the field. They're both based on technologies that existed previously, so it was a little faster to get to market, right?
Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit more about the equipment and your supply chain and the cost?
Yeah, sure. So the equipment, everything we use to build the PFASigator is, in fact, off-the-shelf equipment in and of itself. I know I've got a supply chain. No, oh, well, yeah, but here's the supply chain one. So, yeah, I guess, anyway, I'll talk supply chain. You can look at some pictures of the equipment later. But the heart of the PFASigator is an ultraviolet light reactor. We're getting that from a company called Atlantium. They have like 60 patents on their ultraviolet light efficiency specialty. And then around that ultraviolet light reactor, we bolt things like fluoride meters and pumps and pH adjustment and reagents, and then the whole software system that automates it. So we have it designed so that you have to do every 30 days, you have to change out the reagent bins and calibrate the fluoride probe. And then it runs unmanned, all the data goes to the cloud. And all of the components it's made of are off the shelf and then put together by our manufacturer, M. Davis in Delaware. Any further?
So how much will they manufacture it for? What will it cost you?
Oh, so our first one, the one that's been manufactured, which included all the design, the software, blah, 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 is cost us around $275,000. They believe they can, well, because they don't have to do the engineering or reprogramming the software, they believe they can get to between 100 and 125 for their repeatable modular manufacturing. And we did design it to be modular. When we scaled it for customers will need between one, if they're a small chemical manufacturer like Haviland, they supply our reagents and they're going to be our first pilot site, or 4 PFASigators if you're a 1 million gallon per day well field for drinking water. When we talked to customers about selling it, we started with the number 200,000 and no one blinked an eye. And we've been raising it to 250,000, and we started to get a little bit of a bulk there. And some people have asked, some customer interviews have said, well, and then coming with that would be a $2,000 to $3,000 a month subscription for the reagents, which cost us about $300
Per reactor or
per reactor,
Per reactor.
per PFASigator. Same thing.
But one PFASigator can have 4 reactors.
I consider one PFASigator one reactor, and I could put 4 of them side by side
Now I understand. Thank
to
you.
fulfill a need. Yeah. So you would have that reagent and IP subscription monthly for each PFASigator. Some customers have said, we would rather not own it. We'd rather lease it for $10,000 to $15,000 a month in perpetuity. So they buffer their capital cost. And so we've thought about models of, okay, maybe a 30 to 40% upfront payment, which would actually cover our cost to manufacture it.
You could pound that off on a leasing company.
Yeah.
There's
Yes.
tons of
That's
leasing
what Bobby
companies.
Yeah. I've got to talk to Bobby
I'm
yet.
happy to do that.
Uh-huh.
Sorry to make it. Did you say it was Can you repeat the numbers again for how much the reagents cost you versus the subscription cost per month?
Reagents, we're estimating $300. So Haviland is the company we've selected to buy the raw materials formulated into the single liquid reagent that gets put on the machine. And so $300 a month reagent, and we're looking at charging $2,000 to $3,000 a month subscription.
So long term, this is a subscription
Yes.
business.
Oh, yeah.
On a piece of lease.
And it is long term.
Yeah.
Subscription.
Give it up for Denise K, Inspired Solutions. And I saw Dan Radomski sneak in here. Dan is the executive director
Hey, Dan.
of the Centropolis Accelerator. Dan, thank you for the handoff.
Dan?
Can you, get yourself set up? We're testing a business model with Pointe Angels that has already been adopted by 2 other angel groups in the state. We started in August doing previews. These were, we saw 2 of them today from Spike Neuro and from Innovative Billboards. These are 5-minute sneak peeks, whet the investor's appetite, get a little traction from the entrepreneur, and then invite them back to submit for the screening team to do a venture presentation. And that's what Centri did. Centri was originally referred to us by Kurt, by my predecessor, and they did a preview in August of last year. That was one of our virtual meetings. And the investor promise that was made in August was kept and then some. The growth that we've seen out of Centri helped them get through the screening team this month. And I'm eager to have back Nick Thierat, the founder and CEO and Venture for America fellow with Centri Group.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it. So actually, I love the start of this meeting with talking about Michigan, right? And in Michigan, we actually have something quite unique in terms of industries. We have the largest consumption of propane in residentials than any other state in the U.S. It's about 668,000 properties in the U.S. In Michigan that use propane. There's about 150 propane distributors in Michigan servicing homes, businesses that use propane. I'm not talking about the barbecue. I'm talking about the home commercial size tanks. But each year in Michigan, there's about 33,000 homes, 3 to 5% that run out of fuel flat out. And the reason for that is there's no visibility into the propane tank from the propane distributor's perspective. So my name is Nick. I'm a technical founder with a background in mechanical and software engineer. I'm also director of sales at Code Labs, which is a Series A funded startup, which I got connected to via VFA. At Centri, what we're doing is we're combining 3 groups: local businesses, Audient and Amtech. Amtech being a manufacturer, Audient being a company that's got experience engineering devices in the IoT space. We've been working together since 2017, but we saw this opportunity, we saw this problem that was very common in this state, and we set out to solve that problem. So what is this problem in detail? So the lack of visibility in the customer tanks leads to, number one, out of fuel conditions. That's a nightmare for everybody. It's a nightmare for the homeowner because, hey, my pipes are going to freeze. I don't have a way to cook. Can't heat my water. For the propane distributor, it's a nightmare too because they're going to get the call at the worst time. They get a call at like 2 a.m. on a Sunday during Christmas, during Thanksgiving. It's a dangerous and potentially situation that could lead to liability concerns. The second, lack of visibility also leads to unneeded deliveries for the propane distributor. They don't know what your tank is at. They might send a truck out every 30 days when you probably don't need a delivery for another 45. That goes for sending trucks out. It also goes for optimizing deliveries on the way back. So, hey, the delivery truck itself's got enough capacity, but they don't know that they can go fill up one more person to maximize that delivery. Last piece, probably the most important, touches the heart of the propane distributor. When their customer runs out of fuel, that is the highest probability of a customer leaving because at that moment in time, the only thing they want is fuel, and they're going to call all your competition if you can't deliver. So the customer churn is the highest risk when that customer runs out of fuel. So anything we can do to eliminate that situation is a plus. And at Centri, what we're doing is we're helping these propane distributors be more profitable by providing them a connected solution that eliminates these out-of-field conditions, reduces unneeded deliveries, and improves customer satisfaction with an interface to their customers. And it's made up of 3 parts. So on the right-hand side, we've got our Logi tank monitor, is what we call it. It sits on the tank. It's solar powered. It's, we've got a patent filed on it, and it essentially tracks the consumption of that tank over time. The second is the distributor dashboard and the MyPropane end user app. So the distributor dashboard shows the propane distributor what these tanks are at. I was just with our customer today. He said, I look at this thing every single day. This is how I dispatch my people. Then the MyPropane end user app, that's also a white labeled app. So for Ford Propane, who's the customer we've been working with, they've got a Ford Propane mobile app that allows them to communicate with their customers. This solution is pretty straightforward. We go out, we install the tank monitors, we provide the mobile app to the end customers, then we deploy the dashboard for the propane distributor, and then we optimize the deliveries. In fact, right now we're at the point where Ford Propane, who's our customer, they're optimizing their own deliveries. They're taking the time out of the day to do that. But it's pretty straightforward. So with Ford Propane, they're based out of Waterford. They've seen an ROI of about 119% the first winter we've done it. This is the second winter we're working with them, and they've already ordered some additional monitors to help them out. Last winter, with just 40 monitors, we saved them over 80 trips, which adds up to $7,500 in cost savings, and it just became a part of Jeff's business at Ford Propane. Now, there's some other things that we learned throughout this whole beta pilot. Number one, we figured out we could actually manage orders for them. In fact, the biggest request they got from the mobile app is, hey, can we just put our credit card information in here and pay you? And Jeff right now, he's working with checks still. It's a very antiquated business. Most propane distributors are still operating that way. We also learned we can use this as a marketing channel for Jeff, for Ford Propane. Hey, you want to pre-buy, we've got discounts going on, those types of things, right? Something to move inventory. Now, there's 2 more things that are like a bit interesting. One of them is dispatch as a service. So when we think about Jeff at Ford Propane, he's the manager, VP of the business. He's doing the dispatch himself. We've got the data. We could do the dispatching for him. And in fact, that's something you could essentially automate. Jeff would be more than happy to do that because that's giving him back like 2 hours a day. Then the last piece there is distributor marketplace. There might be an opportunity because not every customer is essentially tied to a propane distributor. There's an opportunity for building a marketplace here with the same assets that we have. So this is in a nutshell what we're providing. The U.S. propane industry looks like this. We talked about Michigan. If we look at the number of propane distributors in the U.S. that fit the same kind of model as Jeff at Ford Propane, which is a small to medium-sized propane distributor, it's about 2,100 of them. When you look at the total market, including the large national distributors, you've got about 3,000 distributors. There's one big question that always comes up, and that's, okay, but natural gas pipelines are always growing. Isn't the market for propane diminishing? And the actual answer is no. There's about 80,000 new homes per year after conversion losses in the propane industry because natural gas pipelines cannot beat the speed of just homes being built out in remote areas. So that's what the market looks like. And the business model, $5 per month per device. The white labeled app is about $100 a month. Plus, we capture 1% transaction fees on every order that comes in. Average order size is anywhere between $600 and $1,000. So it's a decent. When you get 100 orders a month, that tends to add up. Delivery dashboard, we're looking at $3,600 a year or an integration license to maybe another dashboard that we already have. And then we've got the dispatch as a service model, which this hasn't been implemented yet, but we believe we could capture about $12,000 per year for a single distributor. Go-to-market strategies. Identify regions where there's high propane usage. It's obvious. Target clients that fit small to medium-sized model, 3 to 10 trucks or 5 to 25 employees. And then we start and grow with a direct sales approach, low-cost pilots. The go-to-market strategy here is actually, it's a bit more intricate. These propane distributors are regional. It's like almost like, they have their own territories in a sense. They operate in very distinct areas. Any area probably has 2 to 3 distributors. And so one approach to go to market is to almost auction off, and that David, you brought that up, but there might be an opportunity to say, hey, look, we want to find good partners in your area specifically. Are you on board or are you out? Right? Because we want to find specific regions with some partners we want to work with. So that's the kind of go-to-market strategy we're looking at. Competition. If I was to say one thing about the competition is that they're very hardware focused. To them, it's, hey, we want to sell hardware, we want to sell monitors. That's not our approach. Yes, hardware is part of our solution, but it's not the core. The core is these additional services that we're providing from a software perspective that leverage the data from the monitors. So some of these companies have been out in the marketplace since 2015. Some of their monitors are also, you could call it, expiring because the 3G sunset has already arrived. Right? So if I had a monitor that I installed in 2015, can't use it anymore. 3G's gone. So these are how we stand against the competition. Our traction to date, we released our product in November officially with Ford Propane. Since then, we've gotten some additional annual recurring revenue. We've got about 100 mobile app users now, and we've got 65 monitors sold through Ford Propane, and an additional 3 from today after our meeting with the company. So our milestones, we're looking for funding right now so that we can complete the seed round, complete our devices. Now, a lot of this stuff has been in prototype or you call it pre-production phase. We want to wrap everything up. We want to wrap up the device itself. All the designs are done. We want to start manufacturing, build an inventory. This is why we're doing the seed round to also allow us to get a sales team so we can start getting that product out there. Our team, based out of Brighton right now, it's myself and Tom. We've also got some great engineers, both on the firmware side, software side, and PCB designing side. Amtech Electro Circuits being our manufacturer, they've got a team of about 30 to 40 people working in their plant, right? So they're familiar with the product, all the tweaks and little issues that come up during manufacturing. We've got these ironed out. So in terms of building parts, it's just a matter of making it. It's just a matter of building inventory. Our use of funds, I talked about the importance of building inventory so we can actually move product, but some of these funds also go into testing and validation and certification for the device, like FCC, sales and marketing primarily, and then also kind of continuing to build these software services that we're adding as part of it. We're targeting a $1 million, 20% on a safe, so a $5 million post-money valuation on a safe is what we're asking for. And our financials. When we look at our financials and where we're going with this, in 2023, the key number is 11 distributors. If you can get 11 distributors on board, all these things follow. That can help us help us generate revenue so that we can move these things along and get more distributors over and over. I believe, honestly, we can go even faster than this. It's just a matter of getting capital in the business and the right sales force. This is also just looking at the propane industry in the U.S. And then starting valuation of $5 million. What we believe is that in 5 years, getting to a 10x valuation for just looking at, again, the propane industry with these software services that continue to grow. We know this is possible because in the logistic industries, companies like Samsara, they've done 64x multiples at IPO. And why now? So this is the last slide. 4 main reasons. Number one, connectivity. Global cellular service, which is how our device transmits data, historically has been a recurring expense. We've capitalized it now into our device. This is a huge advantage because we get to capture all that recurring revenue now. We know that AI is becoming more and more scalable as a technology, and ChatGPT has kind of opened our eyes to that. So this is something that we want to leverage for this. We also know that there's a lot of talk about a recession right now. Propane industry is flat. I mean, in terms of how it reacts to recessions. Good times, bad times, people still need propane. It's a necessary commodity. And last piece, in this propane industry, there's a labor shortage right now for drivers specifically. So anything we can do to alleviate the number of deliveries that they're doing is a huge push for them. So I want to thank everybody for listening today. Opening it up for questions.
I noticed when I was getting the material before, the tank utility has been acquired by Generac, which is a pretty big company. How do you differentiate your product from their product, and what would keep them from wanting to squash you if they're already a pretty big player with a lot of money and you're trying to break into the territory?
Yeah, so tank utility, no, it's a great point. So tank utility, they don't have a solar powered device. We've actually got people that use tank utility monitors that call us because they're like, hey, that's solar powered. I can't go change my batteries right now. Typically the batteries run out when it's the worst time. That's from a technical perspective. That's one advantage we have over them. They're also very hardware approach. They're not approaching the industry from a software perspective. Even though they do have the opportunity of these end clients and being in front of end clients, they're really not capitalizing on it. They're really doing a hardware play, where we believe this is very much a software play.
And what's the market penetration? How many, like in Michigan, how many people currently have an existing monitor from tank utility or someone else?
That's a great question. I don't have hard data, but what I do know is out of when I go out and I go install tank monitors, let's say, you might come across 1 out of every 100 homes. I mean, there's very low. No, there's really not a lot. And I think it owes to the fact that, and this is straight from Ford Propane, because they've tried monitors. They actually were trying tank utility before they met us. Their biggest concern was like, I have drivers. My driver's responsibility is to fill the tank. It's not to spend 30 minutes at the tank trying to figure out how to make tech work. So the way we design our product is to be literally turn on, stick on, and walk away kind of device. So it installs in 30 seconds. You can walk away from it, make it really simple. And that was one of the big design considerations we had.
Yeah, your target is the smaller distributors. Is that because the larger distributors have internal technology they're using?
Not necessarily. I do sales, so I like short sales cycles. The smaller distributors, it's kind of like you're one step away from the decision maker, and that's what I like to see. I mean, from a being able to turn around these distributors quicker. Okay. Whereas the international ones, well, you have all these layers. It's just like a big enterprise. You've got layers. You have to find how to. So your sales cycles might be a year long.
So those 2,100 small distributors cover what percentage of the tanks in the U.S., for example?
We can look at that. It's because it'll cover the properties, I believe. Sorry, it's the number I should have off the top of my head, but so you've got 13.3 million homes. So you've got about 4 million homes that are call it national distributor based and then 9.3 million. So that gives you about 2/3 of the homes that are small to medium sized distributors.
Mike and then Scott. Yeah, that's kind of the follow-up question is to Jim. It's just to Jim's question is, it seems like this is a function of salespeople, right? So is that 1 million? I mean, just getting just to the distributors and is that just getting somebody, 1 or 2 good people that can get into those distributors?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to be clear on that.
Yep.
My question is about your monitor. It has a cell phone in it, and if so, who pays the cell phone carrier?
So this is great question. So our device does have an antenna, just like a cell phone antenna. And what it does is it uses whatever tower is closest. Doesn't matter what the carrier is. We're using a technology called Once, which essentially just pairs you up with the whatever is closest. Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, doesn't matter. What we pay is an upfront cost, and this is actually like a really big differentiator too. We pay an upfront cost. We capitalize it all in the device, and then that covers us for 10 years. Now it's 500 megabytes for 10 years. Now we've done tests. We know we could, based on the data we consume, and this was still at testing levels, which was a bit higher than what it's going to be in production. We can last 12 years. So our data consumption is very low. We can last 10 years on this thing. It's a non-issue.
Your prepaid phone card.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. What's it cost you?
Oh, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry.
What happens with the solar power if the unit's covered in snow for a couple of months?
This is a great question. So we've done tests. So we did the first winter. That was one of our bigger technical assumptions. Like, is this even possible? And almost all the devices we had, they all either stayed flat or generated more power. Now this was again in pre-production levels. We're using a very efficient solar cell. Like they're getting more and more efficient every year. But the other caveat to this is we're running at pre-production prototype transmission levels. One of the beautiful things about the cloud is we can throttle how much device actually pings. So if we notice that a device is generating We'll just say 1.8 volts of power on average. We can say, hey, throttle down to 1 ping a day, which from the end user's perspective, nobody's going to notice, right? So.
Well, no, I was just curious what you paid for that 10-year life on your with the phone company.
Yeah, it's $10. $10, 10 years. It's pretty phenomenal. Yeah. And the other thing that's great is their technology meshes really well with your manufacturing process, because there's a whole bunch of commission that needs to happen. Like, okay, when do you turn it on? You know, how much data do you consume during testing? And they've got some really good tools to help out with that. So.
So one of the questions that I want to bounce from the coaching session that preceded this was onboarding more distributors. And Mike, you were drilling on this one a moment ago. Tell us about, and it's the same question I asked Denise, the first touch to first monitor install on your next distributor, because you got to get 10 more this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's as simple as, well, we've got a list of about 600 in our CRM, so we know who to target. It's a direct sales approach. Get a meeting with them. We get them started on $5 per month per device, very low for them. So it's like a non-issue. It's like, sure, why not $5? We'll try it, right? Right away, we're starting to build that relationship, and then that's how we just get these guys onboarded. So this is like a list of. This is just the start of the list. I got 600 company prospects in everywhere from Minnesota to Ohio, every state in between.
The ones that we're seeing here, how many of them are captive tank, where the tank actually belongs to the distributor, and how many of them are homeowner tank, where the homeowner can get filled by anybody?
I would say it's a mix in each one. So you have, for a typical propane distributor, about 50% of their customer base is what you would call leased or pre-bought tanks, or even they're on a keep fill program. That's 50% of their customer base. So they either pay at the start of the year or they pay every month to just make sure their tank is filled. The other half of those customers are just free floating. So they come in and out, they call in, hey, I'd like to get my tank filled. What's your price? And so that's that whole free floating part of the marketplace that could be really interesting with a marketplace type of application that's targeting the end user.
Well, and one of the things that you talked about in rehearsal that I didn't hear tonight was the opportunity to empty tanks that are heading back to depot, because you know what tanks along the way can be topped up.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's an application that nobody's doing right now.
No.
And Ford is doing that?
Right now, I mean, if they have the tanks, the monitors on the tanks, they could say, hey, go through Route 34 and stop at this home here to when you're on your way back to get the extra 200 gallons out of the truck.
They can. Are they doing that now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I used to be a salesman. This must blow your mind when you look at the list and you have 600 plus company prospects. How do you attack them all? There aren't enough hours a day for you. I mean, it would blow my mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, being in sales as well, like how do you attack a list like this?
Yeah.
You filter it out by who fits your perfect criteria.
Okay.
And those, the ones that are not, most of these have already been pre-filled actually. They're kind of identified as good candidates.
Okay.
But yeah, then making sure like we have a direct connection to the decision maker.
Yeah.
Right? How fast can we get to the decision maker? That really becomes the question at that point. 300 cold calls a day. Yeah, but
Good man.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, let's give it up for Nick Theoretic.
Thanks so much.
Good job.
Thanks.
So the other thing we like to do is keep in touch with our previous presenters, and one that also did a preview with us, this was in September. Is that me? Yeah. Was Claire Smith from Tenera Grains. And she had the most remarkable experience that she sent us an update, and I'm like, I want you to come in and do a talk. And she was scheduled, and last week her contract manufacturer, toll manufacturer for her new product line said, okay, we moved up production a week because we want to start it early. And she's got to be on site. That's where she is right now. If you were launching a new product and it was going to manufacture for the first time, or you could go and pitch some investors, which would you do? It was the Sophie's choice. A terrible decision. But we were able to divide and conquer. I have virtual Claire for you today, who's going to give the talk that she would have given. Oh, that's not it.
Virtual Claire?
Virtual Claire.
Sounds like a bot.
Probably.
It's like an animated.
There she is.
Oh, is that really her?
That's Claire.
It doesn't go in. It's like not intrusive.
Claire Smith.
Hey
Tenera
everyone, my
Grains.
name is Claire and I'm the founder of Tenera Grains, the makers of Tafola. So we are creating delicious plant-based, gluten-free granola and snacks, sourcing ancient grains from our 7th generation family farm in southern Michigan. So our farm is growing, cleaning, and processing grains like teff and buckwheat as part of their pivot from corn and soybeans to alternative grains and seeds. And they're doing this with a big focus on regenerative agriculture, which keeps soil health top of mind. So I want to share with you 3 up.
I didn't do that.
Same thing used to happen in Max Headroom. But people remember you.
It's just the old story.
Yeah, the old
days.
Max
Pretend I don't know that.
Hey, Lawrence is like, yeah, not working for me.
We're alive in my 30s.
It
Yeah.
might just be buffering there, David.
It might, but I thought it had already buffered the whole thing.
Yeah, it was like the 80s. Yeah, I don't understand.
All right, I got bandwidth.
Oh, I guess think of that. Yeah.
I'm going to refresh. All right, let's try her again.
Everyone, my name is Claire. Processing grains like teff and buckwheat. Their pivot from corn and soybeans to alternative grains and seeds. And they're doing this with a big focus on regenerative agriculture, which keeps soil health top of mind. So I want to share with you 3 updates since you have heard from me before. So the first update is I traveled down to Dallas for the Women in Agribusiness Conference, where I was invited to speak on innovation in agriculture. And so in the 10 minutes that I was presenting our story and our product and what we're doing, our website received 150 orders. And this was to an audience of about 700 people. So we learned that people are really resonating with our story and what we're doing. So the second update is around our product partnership with Zingerman's. Last time I mentioned that we had co-developed and co-branded a flavor of granola with Zingerman's, the bakery in Ann Arbor. And so until this fall, we had only been able to sell to Zingerman's. So it was a pretty exclusive partnership there. But we've negotiated a licensing agreement, and now I'm able to sell it to whichever wholesaler, or I'm able to sell it on our website. And so that has opened up a channel for us. So just as an example of what that has led to, for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we launched this flavor of granola. And without running any other discounts, we truly didn't have any discounts. We were going for margin over quantity this year. We 3x'd our sales over last year, thanks in huge part to the Zingerman's product, as well as our marketing director and a killer email strategy. So that's the second update. Our third update is we launched on Amazon. And so we know that's a huge segment of where our customers are, but to date, we haven't had the capital to really invest in pull that lever. So what we're looking forward to is, getting some capital in the door to start running ads and really focus on that being a big channel for us, because so many people are starting, their snack hunt or their shopping on Amazon these days. So in terms of what is ahead for us, as we speak, I am in production for Tafola Bites, which is our second product line. So Tafola Bites are Tafola, so our granola mixed with dates and flavorful add-ins like almond butter and espresso, or single ingredient chocolate chips. So this is what they look like. So they are 5 bites in a little pouch, so it's single serving. And we are really excited about this because it solves a problem that I myself have been facing. So if I want a little afternoon pick-me-up or, a sweet little something after like a breakfast or a lunch of like salad and a sandwich, and I want it to be healthy, I couldn't find what I was looking for, not only from like a healthier perspective with a good story behind it and that kind of thing, but I was also looking for something that wouldn't stick in my teeth or make my jaw really hurt when I was chewing it. A lot of bars and bites in this category are made with sugars and syrups and just stuff that just gets stuck in my teeth. And I didn't like that experience at all. So I made something that wouldn't have that experience. So we're excited about these because we've secured distribution in Southern California and the Midwest, which translates to thousands of doors. And we're also excited because this opens up different channels of distribution. So we're talking to Henry Ford Health System, so getting it into their vending machines and their cafes. And we're also looking at convenience stores. So again, we really think this is where our company is headed. Our blended gross margin on the Tafola Bites is 63%, which is a very, very healthy margin for the snack category. So in terms of fundraising, we are fundraising for $400,000 using a safe with a 20% discount. 62% of that will go into production costs, and that does include, our gluten-free certification, freight in, all of our ingredients and tolling, etc. 30% of that is going to marketing and trade spend, so that includes slotting fees, free fills, our discounts and promos, advertising, our broker who helps us with our retail sales, that kind of thing. And last but not least is 8% is going to our overhead with our very low rent. Anyway, my name is Claire and I look forward to hearing from you.
So she sent me this. She said, that's my rehearsal. I said, you're done. Rehearsal over. Go to the plant. And the plant, she actually sent me a GIF of the Tafola Bites coming out of the extruder, and it chops them off. It looks exactly like the I Love Lucy episode with Candy. These bites are moving down. She had never seen the I Love Lucy, so I sent it to her. She's like, yeah, that. So great excuse for not being here, and phones it in really strong. Claire Smith with Tenera Grains.